Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're talking about Matt Ryan and asking if he's still an elite quarterback at the age of 36. Make sure to like the video for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. It helps me out a lot. So Matt Ryan has led the Falcons to a 4-4 record so far in the 2021 NFL season, and he's passed for 2,100 yards, 15 touchdowns to 6 interceptions while completing a very good 69% of his passes. He's looking pretty good overall, but also has the worst QBR rating of his career, and I think we can answer pretty quickly that he's no longer an elite top 5, top 6 quarterback, but he is putting together a really good season for the Falcons. We know they no longer have Julio Jones, and they lost Calvin Ridley due to personal reasons, but Matt Ryan has found a way to keep the offense going, and it's been a long time since his MVP days, but he is on pace for 4,500 yards and 32 touchdowns. Both would be very respectable, and he has a chance to get the Falcons back in the playoffs. Ryan has passed for 57,581 yards and 360 touchdowns in his career. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback for sure, as he's 10th in career touchdown passes, 8th in passing yards, and he's been consistent throughout his entire career. Now, of course, there's been some up and downs. The Falcons didn't make the playoffs every single year. We all know about the Super Bowl, which I'll get into later, but let's go back and see where he came from and where this all really started. Matt Ryan attended William Penn Charter School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where he was a 3-year starter for the football team, and he was an all-league selection in all 3 of those years. He also played basketball and baseball, and he was actually the captain of all 3 of those teams his senior year. And as a senior in high school, he passed for over 2,000 yards with 19 touchdowns, and Matt Ryan said that he was mildly recruited and started to receive scholarship offers as early as a sophomore. He had the best offers, however, from Iowa and Boston College, but ultimately he wanted to sign somewhere closer to home and somewhere that had a really good football program and educational program. So in 2003, he signed with Boston College. So how would he do there?
Will fire.
Oh,
the
my
end
goodness.
zone.
Oh!
Open for a touchdown is Calendar.
Before he started throwing touchdowns at Boston College, he would actually redshirt his freshman year while learning the offense and improving his talents overall. Now, he was named the starter going into the 2004 season because of some injuries to the then starter Quentin Porter, but Ryan would only play in 7 games, but he passed for 350 yards with 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, and he only completed 49% of his passes. So yeah, not a great start even for a freshman. However, going into his sophomore year, despite still being the second string quarterback, he would end up playing in 10 games, starting 5 of those, passing for 1,514 yards with 8 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. This time completing 62% of his passes, a little bit better there. It was much improved for him, but again, not being a full-time starter messes with your rhythm, things of that nature, but that all changed in the 2006 season where he would start 11 out of 12 games and pass for 2,900 yards and 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. So he looked good and showed a lot of great flashes, but his senior year in 2007 is when he became an actual star player and showed that he has elite talent. This is when the nickname Matty Ice became standard and would stick around with him for the rest of his career. He would pass for 4,507 yards with 31 touchdowns, but he also threw 19 interceptions. So while he passed for a lot of yards and touchdowns, he seemed to be a bit of a risk taker. I mean, he finished his college career passing for 9,300 yards with 56 touchdowns, but 37 interceptions. So not incredible stats, and when going into the 2008 NFL draft, many scouts questioned his arm strength along with the questionable decision making due to all those interceptions. However, the Atlanta Falcons, who in 2008 were still trying to move on from the whole past of the Michael Vick era, decided to take a risk and a chance on Matt Ryan and drafted him with the 3rd overall pick. Now that would turn out to be a great decision.
Throw a first professional pass. Jenkins, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. He lives in Atlanta.
Matt Ryan would instantly become the starter for the Falcons and right off the bat showed that they made the right choice because Matt Ryan's first pass in the NFL was a 62-yard touchdown in his regular season debut. Yeah, talk about a fantastic start to your career. I don't know how you could get much better than that. He would pass for 3,400 yards and 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions while completing 61% of his passes. But he also led the Falcons to an 11-5 record and would go on to win the Offensive Player of the Year award. Unfortunately, the Falcons would lose in the wildcard round at Arizona 30-24. They put up a good fight, but they just couldn't overcome their mistakes as Ryan would pass for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 costly interceptions and had a fumble lost as well. Year 3 saw Ryan go to new heights as he led the Falcons to a 13-3 record while passing for 3,700 yards and 28 touchdowns. But the Falcons would again lose their first playoff game. This time they were absolutely dominated by the Green Bay Packers 48-21. Matt Ryan again struggled though, just like his first playoff game. He threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. Now it was a tough loss for the team and a rough way to end the season. At 13-3, they thought they were going to go a lot further, but through 3 seasons, Matt Ryan's record was 33-13 with 3 straight winning seasons. So I mean, it was clear the Falcons made the right choice when they drafted drafted him, and that Matt Ryan was becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. The following season in 2011, Matt Ryan passed for 4,000 yards for the first time, and this would actually be the start of his career where he would never again throw for less than 4,000 yards. The Falcons again made the playoffs, but lost again in the wild card round, this time to the New York Giants, 24-2. Yeah, you read that right, 2 points. Matt Ryan didn't have any turnovers, but the offense was just not able to put points on the board. Their offense was completely shut out, so yeah, Ryan was winning a lot of games and had great stats, but it seemed like a pattern was emerging. The Falcons just couldn't get it done in the playoffs. However, the next season would be a different story entirely. Ryan led the 2012 Atlanta Falcons to a 13-3 record while passing for 4,700 yards and 32 touchdowns, and this time the playoff losing streak would end. The Atlanta Falcons defeated the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round 30-28, but the Falcons were actually up 27-7 in the second half, but found themselves down 28-27 with under a minute remaining in the game. This was until a last-second field goal pulled off the win for the Falcons, but something that almost haunted them, and as you would see, this was maybe a precursor to a future playoff game. But we saw Matt Ryan pass for 3 touchdowns and finally secure a playoff win. The Falcons were finally in the NFC Championship game, and they actually found themselves up in that game 17-0. It looked like the Falcons were finally going to go back to another Super Bowl, but you guessed it, they started to fall apart. The San Francisco 49ers would storm back and dominate the second half 14-0, winning the game 28-24. Matt Ryan actually looked great most of the game, passing for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 turnovers in the game and the Falcons just kind of choked. But hey, they finally got the monkey off their back, they won a playoff game, so it looked like things were turning around, right? Well, actually, over the next 3 seasons, the Falcons would completely regress as a team, and they would miss the playoffs and finish with a record of 18-30 over those seasons. Matt Ryan, however, played great for the most part, averaging 4,600 yards passing a season, really good, and 25 touchdowns a season. But after a 3-year hiatus, the 2016 season would see the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan return to the playoffs. They finished with a record of 11-5, with Matt Ryan having probably the best year of his career. He passed for 4,944 yards with 38 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions while completing nearly 70% of his passes. Absolutely amazing numbers. He was completely dominant, and this led to him winning the MVP that season. In the actual playoffs, they would dominate the Seattle Seahawks 36-20 and go on to the NFC Championship game where Matt Ryan would get his revenge on the Packers. And they dominated again 44-21 with Matt Ryan throwing for 392 yards and 4 touchdowns. They were really starting to look unstoppable, and this now brings us to the most famous game of Matt Ryan's career and maybe the most famous Super Bowl of all time. The 2016 Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. And as most of you know already, the Falcons would score a touchdown early in the third quarter that would put them up 28-3. With basically just 23 minutes remaining in the game. Ryan was playing well and the offense as a whole looked dominant as they had been all playoffs long. But the biggest collapse in Super Bowl history happened. Now, I won't go into all the details, that would take another video entirely, but basically the Patriots stormed back and tied the game at 28 apiece. Falcons actually had a chance to run the clock out or kick a field goal that would have iced the game, but the play calling, decision making was just a disaster. And like I said, I won't go into all the details, but if you're watching that game, it was hard to watch. If you're a Falcons fan or just a fan in general, it was tough seeing what the Falcons were doing. The game would move on to overtime where the Patriots would obviously finish the comeback and they won the game 34-28. It was one of the most embarrassing and worst losses in the history of the NFL. Now, as a Cowboys fan, I feel embarrassed by my team all the time. I have to deal with pain. Of course, you know, being a Cowboys fan, it's not great, guys. But Falcons fans, I'm sorry. I cannot imagine how that must have felt. I mean, it was an easy win that they just squandered away. A simple field goal in the last sequence in the fourth quarter would have iced the game for them. However, Tom Brady and the Patriots made history yet again. This loss was basically the turning point for the franchise as a whole. They went from dominating in the playoffs to an epic collapse. Now, I will say the following season in 2017, they did have another winning record. They made the playoffs and they even won the wild card round, but they lost in the divisional round 15-10. And as of this video, this was the last time Matt Ryan and the Falcons have been to the playoffs. Since then, Matt Ryan's record as a starter with the Falcons is just 22-33. And like we talked about already, so far in the 2021 season, the Falcons and Ryan are 4-4 and they might end the streak this year. They're looking decent overall. But after looking at his career as a whole, like I said in the beginning of the video, Matt Ryan statistically is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He had a stretch in 2016 that, had they won the Super Bowl, would have been one of the most memorable and dominant seasons for a quarterback in years. However, the Falcons have had a history of blowing huge leads and choking in big moments, and it's a shame that such a great quarterback never won a Super Bowl. Now, of course, he still can, it's still possible, but it really seems like they missed out and missed their chance. As of this video, Matt Ryan's overall record is 117 wins to 96 losses, but he had 2 seasons where he led the team to a 13-3 record, multiple 11-win seasons, multiple playoff appearances, but he's now 36 years old and we just don't know how much longer he's gonna play. I mean, it's always been a treat to watch him, and I think we should all appreciate how great he has been over his entire career. Is he still an elite quarterback in 2021? Well, statistically, he's still a top 12 quarterback right now. I don't know if you would call top 12 elite. I think that's more of like the top 7, top 8 guys. But he's still playing really good, and he's led a lot of great teams and offenses over the course of his career. Thanks for bringing us so much entertainment, Matt. Falcons fans, let us know your favorite Matt Ryan moments and how much longer you think he's gonna play. He had an amazing career, and I look forward to watching the end of his career, and who knows, maybe he can get back to the Super Bowl and get revenge again. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm uploading 3 videos a week, so hit that notification bell to get notified each and every time I upload. As always, everyone, I'll see you in the next one.